But if you have that bare minimum insurance plan because that's the cheapest one you can get, and then, oh, you happen to find out, guess what? You have leukemia, you're fucked. Because your insurance plan is not going to cover you. You know? And especially if you, so then you try to go get more insurance or better insurance to cover your, well, guess what? Now that's a pre-existing condition, and they don't have to cover you.
And that's off of what care? Like the Obamacare thing?
No. That's what Obamacare tried to fix. Obamacare tried to set a base for insurance saying everybody has to cover at least these things, all of these things. And the people that were paying less, whose insurance jumped up, they had plans that were down here. They didn't cover all these basic things. And so they had to, their insurance companies were forced to come up to this level of insurance. Well, they're not going to eat that cost. They pass it on to you. So that's why your insurance rates jumped up. Now, Obama made it law that the states could take money from the federal government. The government would help them with these costs by, I don't know if it was loans or grants or whatever, but they were going to give states money to help offset these costs. But the Republican states did not want to do that because it was Obama's idea, and they knew that if they didn't take that money and implement this, that it's going to fuck these people. And these people are going to be mad, and oh, we're going to blame it on the black guy, you know?
Which is racist.
And so that's what happened to a lot of these people. He made it possible for states to expand Medicaid, so that if you can't afford this insurance, we can put you on Medicaid, which is an excellent program. My mother says, Democrats are socialists, blah, 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 blah. But she'll damn sure, she's on Medicaid, and she ain't got a problem with that, you know? And these older people, they don't see that. But the states, especially Republican states, they dug their heels in and refused to do anything to benefit their own people so that they could blame Obama for it. And that's been the whole problem with Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act is trying to get the states to do it the way that it was meant to be done so that everybody can have insurance. So yeah, the Republicans come in, Trump comes in, and they start tearing apart Obamacare, and it starts to fall apart, and then it gets expensive, and then people don't have insurance anymore. Yeah, your cost of insurance may go down. You know, oh, I can finally afford insurance again. It's this insurance again.
Yeah.
You know.
So when you get really sick, you can't afford.
But not only that,
if you're diabetic, you need a certain level of insurance, and the insurance company knows that, and they're going to charge you more for it. You know.
There's money out of their pocket, which they don't want.
Because they know they're going to have to spend money on you. So it's like car insurance. Think about car insurance. I've been paying car insurance since I was 16 years old. Let's figure roughly $100 a month. Since I was 16 years old, that's 35, 38 years maybe? $100 a month times 38 years. $100 a month times 12 times 38. How much is that, Marlon? 3,000. It's more than that.
Wait. What did you say?
100 times 12
equals
times 30
Just put equals
equals times 38.
You messed it up.
Jesus have.
What? That is not it.
Oh, wait. 100 times 12
times 38.
$45,600.
I've paid $45,600 into car insurance over the course of my life, and I've never fucking used it. Never had a car wreck. So that's $45,000 I've paid in just in case shit happens. Now, if I was to go out and wreck my fucking car,
You still have to pay $250 deductible.
I'm going to have to pay the deductible. They'll fix my car, and then they're going to jack my insurance rates up.
That's messed up.
And who's
They're not going to give me $45,000.
That's a robbery right there.
You know,
that you've already paid for all these years?
yeah.
Whether it's
So that's just money that they
What did
hold
the
on
guy
to
from Swift-
in
okay.
case shit. You know, health insurance is the same thing. You pay into it, and while you're younger, you don't use it that much.
What if the,
When you get older, you'll need it. I'm getting older, and I'm starting to have things that hurt and ache. You know,
like,
and-
what if you put it in like to a pocket though, and if you needed it, you could get it out of there?
Yeah, but the government.
so when I was a kid, people didn't have health insurance like they have now, and that's the way people did it. But it wasn't as expensive to go to the doctor. You know, when things started to get expensive, you know, if you say, okay, well, I'm going to put $150 a month into this account in case we get sick or whatever, over time, nobody gets sick, and you think, okay, well, you know, we can use this money for this or we can use it for that, and then something bad happens and you don't have any money, you know? So
But you don't get the money that you put into it, which I feel like is unfair. Because I mean, I'm putting all this money into it, but you're not giving me anything back. So like, I feel like that's kind of like robbery.
that's why it's called insurance, because
We would have to-
you're going to give us money, and in return, we promise you that we insure you that we're going to take care of you if you get sick or injured, right?
But like when I go to the doctor for like my knee and stuff, they still don't pay all of it. Like they get to pick and choose what you need.
That's
But,
right.
Like that's not fair. Like it should be covered.
That's the way it
regardless.
is. That's the way it is, because
Insurance don't work off 100%. They work off percentages. So, like my insurance right now is I pay a monthly premium of, well, I pay a bi-weekly premium of $258 every 2 weeks. They take out of my check automatically to cover myself and the kids, right? And Marley goes to the doctor, okay? And my plan works on an 80-20. So they cover her medical bills at 80%, and I pay the 20%. That comes up to 100%. But they don't pay that 80% until after I meet my deductible. Well, my deductible for a family is $5,000.
Jesus.
So that means that all three of us, me, Marley,
wanna
and
be
Tim,
so
grown.
have to meet.
we pay the first $5,000, and then
They cover the 80%.
so let's say she needs a surgery and it costs $8,000. We pay $5,000 out of pocket. That leaves $3,000 left, right? And out of that $3,000, they'll pay $2,400 of it. We got to cover the rest of that.
How can that system right there get fixed?
We gotta be like other countries.
You got to have
We gotta have a free healthcare system.
you have to have politicians that are motivated to
Didn't
help
Bernie
the
wanna
people,
do that?
because right now the
But
people
all politicians I feel right now, of course, they're all just about themselves and money.
yeah.
So we're fucked, regardless.
Yeah,
So the
they're-
rest of our lives, I mean, because that's all.
Until like kids.
Welcome
like
to the
us-
world, baby.
It's really like
Waking
that
up.
until-
Yeah.
It's really like that until kids like us grow up and are just like, we need to fix this because the older generation is messing it up for us. They really are. Y'all looking it up.
The insurance
Y'all
industry.
looking it all the way up.
The insurance industry makes a lot of money. Everybody's paying $250 a month into it, and they're not using
robbing
it. They
motherfuckers.
sit on that money, right?
gonna just
They
stay
take portions of that money and they hire lobbyists to go to Congress and convince the congressman to change the laws. Hey, you know, it's really expensive to cover people with diabetes, and really, diabetes are just
Obese people.
they're just poor people that are fat and they don't eat well.
Skylar's
We
not
shouldn't
fat.
have to cover people with diabetes. So they get them to make these laws to where,
That's
oh,
not
well,
diabetes. She's not
we're not
fat.
going to cover diabetes. So now it allows
I'll
the
show you.
insurance
She's not
company to not have to cover diabetes. If you have diabetes, we'll cover you, but it's going to cost you extra. You know, they make more money. So that's that circle. You know, and there are politicians. Bernie Sanders wants to go to a single payer, government run healthcare system.
Her
right?
neighborhood looks like mine.
That means it would be just like all the other
she's not
countries in the
fat.
world have, where you go to the doctor and the government pays for it. The doctors, hospitals, and all that. They're not making outrageous sums of money. You know, they pay what's fair. Because I'll tell you, if you have insurance and you need to go to the doctor and they take an X-ray, that X-ray is going to be about $500. if not more. But it's going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
If you go to the doctor and you don't have insurance, that X-ray is going to be about $25. No,
$100.
yeah, it'll be about 50 to 75, maybe
But don't
$100.
have insurance?
More realistic, you know. Now, in here's another case. My knees are torn up, and I know why. I dislocated my knee, tore all the ligaments. I don't have any cartilage in it. I know what the problem is. If I go to the doctor and he wants to do an X-ray, that's bullshit. Because the damage in my knee is to the soft tissue, and it doesn't show up on an X-ray. He wants to take the X-ray so he can bill the insurance company and get that money. I know that I need to go get an MRI because the MRI shows the soft tissue inside. So every time I go to the doctor for my knee, they want to take an X-ray that's not going to help anybody. It's going to put money in someone's pocket. Then they look at the X-ray and say, well, we can't really see anything on here. We're going to schedule you for an MRI.
More money.
Should have just done that
Yeah.
the first time. Now, if I didn't have insurance, if I didn't go to the VA, and I went to the doctor and said, my knee is hurting, here's my history, here's what's going on, we wouldn't even fuck with an X-ray. He'd send me straight for an MRI. So,
It's just everybody just out to get money. Cause I feel like people that like the way Marley is right now, the way she's thinking and the way she says, well, this and that, my generation, this fuck whatever. But you have people that want to go and do right, and then go do go learn politics or go learn whatever to go. But then what happens? They get corrupt.
you're up against a lot of money. Up against a lot of money.
Yeah, but if
Which,
these
that's
people
what-
are wealthy, like the people that go and want to make a difference and they're wealthy, and then they go into the Senate or go into whatever they got to go into.
It's like money buys your place
change.
in life.
Well,
People change.
not even
when
necessarily
you
that.
get to that
If-
level,
Which is cool.
you're all,
I'm broke.
you're all corrupt.
What do
That's the way I see it. That's
In
what I
some
see it.
aspect, a lot of them are. But a lot of times you don't even get to that level. Because the people with the money, if you go in there saying, this is my goal, I want to be a politician because I want to change the insurance industry, I think it's corrupt and blah, blah, blah. They put their money into the candidate who's running against you. So that this person, they have plenty of ads and they can say, well, that Eddie guy, I heard he was a cook one time and he used to be a cook at a strip club and blah. So you never get a fair chance to be elected because all this money is going to this person so that they can say things about you, and you have to find people that think like you do. Yes, I want you to go speak for me, Eddie. Well, can you give me some money? Can you give me a donation to help me get there? I'm sorry, I don't have it,
People who want to go into politics they don't always start out with a lot of money, but when they decide,
Obama was a lawyer.
But when they come out and say what their stance is, then that's where the money is. If you have a good stance, people are gonna buy into it and give you the money, the donation, the endorsement. They're gonna say, yeah, endorse this candidate. But if you don't have it, then like Wade said, they're gonna give it to the candidate who's your opponent, and then they're gonna come into office. So you're never gonna get a chance. And slowly but surely, the higher up you go into politics, the more it costs. So the more you gotta side with.
But I feel like money just buys your place and everything, though.
Fair enough.
Like, if you know you're gonna have money, then you know you're gonna be well off in life, which is like unfair.
Well, so
And like, and if you have more money, I feel like they should take more taxes from you than people that are poor because they can't always
Well, they
provide
do
for
that
them.
already. They take more taxes out of
But like Amazon or whatever, wasn't it Amazon that they didn't pay like a lot of
Yeah.
money in their taxes.
When
But
you
they're
look at
taking a lot of
percentage, they
money
don't.
from like poor people.
they tax people like you and me more than they do Jeff Bezos.
That's the Amazon guy.
And the reason they do that is because the tax rate is a percentage, right? And 20% of my pay or 20% of your pay is going to affect you and me a whole lot more than it is going to affect somebody who's stinking rich.
We should take
You know?
70%.
If I make $5 million
Look,
a year, 20% of that is going to be $20,000 maybe. Okay.
Drop in the bucket for that.
Yeah, $20,000 out of $5 million. That ain't shit. If I make if I make $50,000 a year, then that's $2,000. That's gonna hurt because that's cutting me down to 48,000 now. You know.
Look, he used to be white and not orange.
I just feel like, yeah, we're just fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
That's why.
It's scary to think to even say that. I mean,
And
Donald Trump
well,
had-
and
Well, see,
listen, and to go back to
Little
Obamacare,
piece.
right? Let's just go back to that real quick because we left an important piece out. Obamacare was put
I'm
out
gonna come
so
after you.
everybody had to have insurance. If you didn't have insurance, you were going to get fined. You know, when you filed your taxes, they asked you, did you have Obamacare or any health care? And if you didn't, the first time, the second time though, the second year, you were going to get fined. You had a fine. It's because he wanted everyone to have health care. It wasn't because he wanted to fine you and take your money. It's because he
it
wanted
was to
you-
promote people having insurance because that's the way that the cost of it stays cheap. If the insurance company, because he allowed the insurance companies to stay a part of it, which was a mistake, but that's the only way he could get it to pass. But by forcing everyone to have insurance, it allows the insurance companies to save some money because the healthy people, the young people, they had to have insurance also. So they had to pay into it and they're not going to get to use it.
Yeah, I never got insurance.
So
Yeah.
I did my taxes if you're talking.
Yeah, and so that's why I say it's important for everybody to understand.
You think maybe that's why they hold my taxes back right now?
I don't
They
know.
found out that I've been filing taxes.
Well, no, you would have to have paid in. You would have to have They were gonna get their money. I mean, that you were gonna get your fine. They made sure because it was an automatic fine on your taxes. It wouldn't have caught up to you now. They would have would have had a fine back then because now it's not a fine because he did away with it. So you wouldn't have had it now. I don't know what the reason is this year for your taxes, but I'm saying though, Obama wanted everybody to have health care. That's why he did his policy. And like Wade said, he wanted everybody to have minimum standards no matter what you did. Now you could upgrade, you could get the more expensive one, but you had to have, this is what the insurance companies had to have first. You know, they had to cover diabetes and they had to do all, and you could get insurance even if you had a cancer. Because some people are like, oh, I never had insurance, but I have cancer. How am I going to do it? Well, it didn't matter what you had. You were going to get insurance. It was, you could get on insurance with pre-existing conditions, no problem. But now it's not like that. It's different. And I've said this for years, is that no matter where you go, what industry you're in, even politics, governments, insurance companies, even schools, even school districts, they're all in it for money.
Yeah.
Schools are in it for money too. It's a business. Everything is a business.
And that's why they shut down a lot of schools in Austin. They shut down like at least 13 schools.
Yes.
And half of them were elementary schools.
It's a business for them. And that's one of those.
They weren't making any money with
No, they weren't getting their proper. They weren't hitting their numbers. They have to maintain certain scores and in order for them to continue to reach their funding, their government money to help them. Programs and stuff. And when you don't reach that standard, when your students don't perform, they're questioning, well, what are you teaching? What are you doing? They got him and they didn't, then you're not gonna get any money. So they have to begin closing the schools down and minimizing so that another school can get it. They just stop giving them money. That's why they take away a lot of programs, a lot of music programs, a lot of this, because they didn't meet their numbers, so they don't get those programs. They used to do RIF, Reading is Fundamentals.
They lose their money, and so when the schools lose their money, they have to get rid of programs like music programs and so that are not essential because they have to spend the money to bring in teachers to teach the classes that are essential.
Do y'all think the reason why they closed down some of these schools is because a lot of parents, as like ourselves, are gonna start, homeschooling. Because I mean, I know my cousins. A lot of my cousins were homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think it's because they're taking kids out of the school and homeschooling them?
When you were in school, what kind of options were there for homeschooling?
I don't know.
What kind of options were there for?
I don't even think my parents really thought about homeschooling.
But I didn't.
Was there even that option?
I don't know.
When you were in school, what kind of options were there for online learning?
Well, none, because
There was none, right?
because,
Every kid I knew went to public school. I didn't know any kids that went to private school. Now, there were some, but I didn't know any of them kids. They were the fancy kids, the rich kids, But as politics have gotten involved with school, you don't pay teachers enough money. Nobody wants to be a teacher. It's expensive to go to college and get that education. And then when you look at what you're going to make as a teacher, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use my education. I'm going to go over here where I can make some money, So the people that go into teaching, a lot of times, it's not their first choice. So do they want to be there doing that job? No, not necessarily. Do they take the time to really know their subject so that they can teach it? Maybe not. They spend a lot of time during the day on their computer searching for a new job.
What was your question? Do I think what now? That they're doing what? Because we're homeschooling?
If it's taking the funding and taking, that's why they're closing down schools, because they're not meeting their funding things or whatever you were just talking about why.
Their scores, the students aren't doing well on the tests, and what I was talking about was how it got to that point. When you start opening, if you're not going to pay your teachers, then you're not going to attract really good teachers into that field. You're not going to hire good teachers. And so because of that, you're not going to get people that teach well, and because of that, students aren't going to learn well. So it's a cycle, Now I'm a teacher, and I feel like I get paid a decent amount of money, but I also have my master's degree, so I get paid more money for that.
What's the difference between the master's, like having a master's or whatever? I don't know what
A master's degree means I stayed in school for an additional 2 years and studied my subject matter a little bit more focused, a little bit more intensely. You go to college basically for a 4-year degree. You get either a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science. It's a 4-year degree. You can get a job as a teacher making base pay. So I got my Bachelor of Arts in History with a minor in kinesiology so that I could coach football. I got into teaching because I wanted to coach high school football. So I make money as a teacher. I make a little bit more money as a football coach. But when I was in college, I already knew that going to college at my age, I was in my 30s, that when I graduated college and I was looking for my first job as a teacher, I would struggle because I'm an older teacher with no experience. So I stayed in college for 2 years, and I got my master's degree. I had to work a little bit harder, study a little bit harder, but I got that advanced degree, which means that I know my shit when I'm talking social studies.
Hold on a second. Sorry. Isn't Kelly that guy's wife, husband?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Sorry. Go ahead.
So, with my master's degree, when I graduated and I start looking for a job, now potential schools that are looking to hire me are looking at getting somebody, well, he doesn't have any teaching experience, but he does have a master's degree, so he at least knows his subject. And so that helped me get hired on, and I get paid a little bit more for having that advanced degree. Now, is it enough to pay back my student loans? No, it's not. Yeah, so it's not really cost effective. So if I paid that money to go to college and get that degree, I could make more money, but I really like what I do. And I got into it because I wanted to coach high school football, and that's what I do. So, you know, I'm fortunate. I know that I'm better off than a lot of teachers that I know, because I was in the Army before I became a teacher. So when I was in the Army, I messed up my knee. I get a disability check every month. So what I make as a teacher, plus what I make as a coach, plus my disability check every month, we make it okay, you know? So
as a teacher, and everything that's going on, how do you teach your class? Because with everything going on right now, the race, and everything, and the Trump and all that, how do you handle that with your class? Or have you ever had something like that where a student,
So I got into a Facebook argument with a guy that I was in the Army with. He's a teacher. He was a sergeant. He was above me. He outranked me. No. He was one of my sergeants. When he retired, he went and got his degree, became a teacher. He works somewhere, let's just say Pennsylvania. I'm not sure exactly where, but let's say Pennsylvania. He works as a teacher in Pennsylvania at according to him, what he told me, at one of the top high schools in Pennsylvania. So I'm thinking that his school, there's probably, if it's one of the top high schools, it's going to be in a good city, probably a good neighborhood. He's got a lot of white kids that go there, a lot of money into school, so that they can bring in all these good teachers, right? And so that's not my experience, though. He's talking about the school he teaches at, and their beliefs in this and that. Okay. The schools that I've been at have always been what's called a Title I school. It's a poor school. Most of the students get some kind of financial assistance. They get free lunch, and they ride buses to school. They don't drive,
What's the level of grade or the schools?
High school is 9th through 12th.
So you were basically teaching what though?
I teach the 10th graders.
10th grade?
Yeah.
And he was teaching?
He was teaching AP US history, so he was teaching probably 11th graders maybe. And he and I were going back and forth. And his thing was like, you should not be discussing politics with your students. You should just be explaining to them how the government works. Let them make their own decisions. And I totally get that. I do believe that.
How the government works in whose eyes, though?
That was my point. That's the point I told him. I said, my students come to me with questions because they see what's going on in the world, and they see that it appears to be turned against them. And so they ask me these questions because they're not questions they can ask their parents, because their parents don't have that answer.
That education, or like my parents didn't.
So my students come to class, and some days in history, we don't spend talking about history. We spend talking about life situations and stuff that's going on. You need to calm your fucking ass. Calm it. You're not fucking doing nothing. You're just sitting here.
No, are they?
Cut.
Okay, well, they can do it next.
Cut that out, Eddie. Cut that part out.
So yeah, when my students come to class,
How can you just go really high and then just like, well?
because y'all piss me off a lot.
All right, go ahead.
My students come to class and they have questions, they'll ask me. And I don't think I'm doing my students right if I blow over things and try to smooth it out.
Like the way that the other.
Yeah.
What was he? captain or whatever.
Yeah, my sergeant.
Your sergeant.
Sergeant Forgy, yeah, he, you know, and so he's like, well, I just tell them the government and how it works. Well, yeah, they can get information from their parents. My students don't get a lot of that, you know. So they come to me with questions and we talk about it, and I'll pull stuff up and we'll look at it and analyze it and talk through it. And what do you guys think? And those are some of the best discussions we have, because I ask them what they think. And they try to articulate it, but they don't really have the words. Mm-hmm. So I try to help them understand what they're trying to say, you know.
Or what you think they're trying to say.
Yeah. They'll say something, I'll be like, wait a minute, do you mean like this or do you mean like that? You know. So help them think their way through it so that they can figure things out and think better for themselves.
I would.
And that, I feel, is my job as a teacher, is to get my students to think. They don't care about world history. They don't care about Napoleon or fucking Louis the Sun King, Louis the 16th or the 14th. You know, they've got that on their phone if they ever need to know. Oh, Louis the 14th was Louis the Sun King. If they ever need to know that, I need them to be able to see a problem and think their way through it to figure out the answer. You know,
I could dig that, yeah, because when I was in high school or junior high, and they would be teaching in social studies or whatever, yeah, I could care less about what they were talking about, because, I mean, you know, flip to this page and, you know,
you're reading stuff in your, and I don't care who Cleopatra is. Why does this have any bearing on me?
And we never really, and I don't even remember ever sitting in the class talking about what was going on in this period of time, and then, like, you just, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I would have had a teacher like that.
Well, my teacher always told us that we weren't allowed to talk about it. Like, I would ask, like, you know how they were doing the abortion thingy about all of that?
See, I don't think that.
I was just like, how are men going to dictate what a woman can and can't do with their body?
I don't think that's right, because those are legitimate questions.
Well, and I told her, I was just like, so you feel that having because I asked her, I was like, so you feel like people having abortions is wrong? And she was just like, yes, because that's not what God would want. And I was like, well, there's other people out there that don't believe that.
So,
she was just letting her Christian beliefs or whatever.
Yeah, but I told her, and I was just like, but what if it's a legitimate reason, like a life or death situation for the mother? You don't have to go through with it. And she was just like, well, we're not going to get into this. So I was just like, so I can't voice my opinion, but what your opinion, what you say just goes.
You're going to throw God out in the classroom, but you don't want to hear my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between a lot of teachers and now is some teachers they own, like, it's just a job to them. They go get a paycheck. They're not actually investing in the children. And that's so you asked a question about, do I think that us homeschooling the children, it has an effect on the schools? Well, no, I don't. A choice to homeschool the kids was based solely upon what I see in the teachers that have been teaching the kids lately. Wade being a school teacher, you know, and me going through school and the degree is that they learn more from being home and me teaching them and Wade than they do from some teachers who don't really care to teach. They're just going solely by the textbook. But I need teachers that are dedicated to making sure that they grow as children, as adults, as, you know, members of society. And I'm just not seeing that lately. I see a bunch of teachers. Let's just a perfect example. Timmy had a teacher last year, and it was his first year teaching. And when I met him, I knew at the very moment that Timmy was going to have trouble with him, because he said it was his way or the highway. Right off the bat, he told Timmy, you know, you're going to call me yes, sir, you're going to do all these things. And every time I was like, him and Timmy went round and round, and I tried to tell the school, I'm like, Timmy's having a lot of trouble in this classroom, him and this teacher. And the school said, well, he's a new teacher and they have somebody overseeing him. And I'm like, but there's no oversight, because she's one person trying to oversee all these new teachers. It's just not going to work. Well, Timmy didn't do his best in the classroom, but he did excel great whenever he was homeschooled, when that ended the last semester when we started the coronavirus, and Timmy had to come home and work, he did great. He passed the class like it was no problem. But it's because he wasn't with the teacher. He was doing the work on his own. He was learning. He absorbed all the knowledge. And that I try to express to them, the teacher's not always right. I don't believe that teachers are always right. There's definitely a point where if you truly love and are passionate for what you do, it shows. And I will say that Wade is very compassionate towards his students. He always wants his students to succeed no matter what they do in life. His whole purpose is for them to be good students and successful. He thinks and believes that all his students should go to college. And he would do everything he can to get them to that point. Even if his student
get there with their own,
With their own achievements.
Own
exactly.
achievements.
Yep.
All he offers is guidance and knowledge that so he can help them, whatever form that comes in. If you need a tutor, and I'm not that tutor, I'll find you a tutor. If will pay for a tutor to help you. I will whatever. That's the extent that he will go to for his students. But then you have teachers who just do it just because they need a paycheck, and they're just gonna read off the book, tell you to go to class and read, and don't ask questions, don't do this, and well, students don't work that way. Not all students, and I speak for mine because Marley is not one that just can sit there and read.
I could not.
She just
I
not.
have to be like hands-on doing something. 'Cause that's how I learned. Like in ag, I was hands-on doing stuff, like going out planting crops and stuff. But in like my medical class, it was read out of the textbook, and if you don't do it a certain way, you're getting a bad grade.
So I don't.
And I can't do that.
I don't necessarily think that teachers are the end all to everything. I think that it starts at home. As parents, we have to do our part, our due diligence to make sure that our kids are on the right track, keeping up with them, doing all these things. I think it starts at home, but it also starts when they're very young. I will say that, we've always, as parents, we've always been picky about the kids as teachers. When I've seen a problem right away, I will always speak out and say, hey, my child's not excelling. Let's talk about the teachers, and let's just make sure that we're all in alignment and that we all agree that, this is going to be the best thing for them. I mean, and I will say all of them, even Isabel, she had a problem reading, and her teacher was like, but she can do it. She's just choosing not to do it. And we had a conference, remember? And he said she has to learn how to read, and she has to read by this level. And we're like, oh, but she can. And so we had a talk, and she ended up excelling. Marley had a teacher, Miss she's Springer now, Miss Miller. She was Marley's teacher for years, and she always made sure that Marley was exceeding above and beyond. So I say, do your job as parents to make sure that our kids will be successful, but also speak out for them. If the teacher, even in high school, if your teacher is not being a helper, then you need to be asking questions. Even in high school, because Wade has parents.
But the kids that I teach, they don't.
But now that
for the most part, a lot of them, they don't have that. They don't have a parent at home that will advocate for them. They don't have a parent at home that can answer questions, that can discuss things with them. A lot of the kids that I teach, their parents, are
busy working. They have to work 2 or 3 jobs. They have kids that they have to provide for.
Maybe like me, not very well.
They've got other things on their plate. That kid that was over here the other day, Xavier. Okay, he went to my school. His mother lives by my school. He went to my school. That's how I know him. He was one of my football players. But he lived with he and his sister lived with his mother. And mother has a boyfriend, and the boyfriend likes to put his hands on mom. Well, the boyfriend is much smaller than Xavier, and so when boyfriend tried to do that, Xavier pretty much put a stop to it, which caused friction between boyfriend and mom, because boyfriend was like, "Hey, I'm scared of him. Do something about it." So mom pretty much tells Xavier, don't do that. Well, Xavier's like, you're my mother, and I'm not going to sit here and watch this guy, Well, the final straw, it happened again when boyfriend put hands on Xavier's sister. And Xavier, again, he did what any kid would do, And again, boyfriend went to mom and said, you need to do something about it. I'm scared of him. So mom sent Xavier to live with her brother over here. So now he goes to this school over here
With me.
with Marley. You know?
So now he's
Screwed up that kid's whole education. Now, in the end, it probably worked out best for him. This seems to be a better school. He is a huge impact on their football team. And as you've seen, he's a big kid and he's naturally athletic. He's got a really good chance of going to college and playing football. And his education is good enough to where he should be able to get there on a scholarship. So, but that is a good kid. But his home life, you know, and, you know, when he's over here, I mean, he comes up and he hugs me and, you know, because I care about that kid. The kids that I teach in class, the kids that play football that are in my class, yeah, I care about those kids. Their lives are tough. And they have a chance to change it, but it ain't going to be easy. And it starts with an education. You know, so, and I'm trying to get 15-year-old kids to realize that. You know, when you were 15 and I was 15, I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I mean, it clearly shows how much of an impact he has because our EJ.
He's 15.
No,
he's
he's 17 now, but
I was gonna say, yeah, that's a big 15-year-old.
No, but it's the same thing. Like our EJ, you know, he was a football player. He was one of Wade's students,
Yep.
and he's just been in our life. Well, like we said, almost 9 years, and in August it'll be 9. In August it'll be 8 years.
6.
6.
No, I've known him since I was
4 years in Wallace Rose Hill and 2 years here. How many is that?
We're about to celebrate 3 years here.
Okay.
5 years old?
No, I've
4.
known him since I was like.
I've known
7.
EJ since I've known EJ since
So
he was a
7
freshman.
years. 7 years.
I would say I've known
7
him since
years.
I was 7.
I met EJ in 2014.
It's almost 7 years. Irregardless, it's been a long time. He's been with us, and he didn't have a good. I mean, he's got a great mom, Michelle, but
He's got a good family, but
Props to Michelle.
as his mom says, and as EJ feels like, and we feel like, you can never have too many people that care about you. You know, he's a good kid. You know, he had potential. He had physical ability. He just needed to get his mental ability caught up, because that's how me as a football coach, I can change your life. If you have, go ahead and turn that alarm off, please. If you have physical ability to where you can play football, my job is to help you get your educational ability to the point where you can use that physical ability to trade it for an education. You know?
You always need a backup plan though in football, right?
Yeah. And I tell every one of these kids, you're a student athlete. You're not an athlete student. Your education
First.
has to be first, because that will always take you further than playing football will.
Like what's his name, Mike, on that TV show. He played for the Giants, but now he's hosting.
Oh yeah,
I forgot his name, Michael something.
Strahan, Michael Strahan.
Yeah, like, but I remember when he was like when he first got started with the Giants, or whatever. I remember he would, like, when he did the interviews or whatever. He went to college to do what's the word, like to talk, like to
Broadcasting?
commentator.
something like that. Yeah,
Commentator?
like, you know, because, you know, and I always thought about that. So that might come in handy one day.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, he's real good speaking in front of cameras and, you know, just, you know, broadcasting or whatever, you know, just doing stuff like that. So
EJ just needed motivation and someone to push him to the next level, and that's where we came in. We just pushed him to. We told him he had potential, and I tell him all the time, it's hard. College is
hearing
not.
that from someone else or from anyone is motivating. You know,
And then
motivates
that's why I tell him, I'm like, you're almost done. Just finish it. He's gonna graduate with the bachelor's of science in criminal justice. So he's, you know, he knows what he wants to do. He just needs to get there. And that's why I want for Xavier. And that's why I always tell Marley, if you
Yeah,
ever.
it was tripping me out when he was talking, like, you know, the things that I heard, you know, like, he can barely read, but shit, he's going to college. So I'm like, damn, I'm real bad at reading. And that's the thing too. Like when I was in elementary school, instead of them back then trying to help fix the problem, they end up putting me in special ed. Like that was the solution. Oh, he's dyslexic or whatever. Special ed. So now I'm in this class and I didn't really know nothing about it. I just thought it was like fun because we did a lot of activities instead of really learning.
Because the regular teachers didn't have the special training that you needed, but from what it sounds like, the special education teachers didn't have the training that they needed to help you. So
from what I heard back then, it was I remember my 5th grade teacher telling my parents they didn't have the time to give me the one-on-one that I needed. Because she's teaching 30 other kids.
Right.
So basically, they put me in this special.
They put you in there hoping that you would pay attention and catch up when they knew that you needed individualized help. You needed someone to sit down with you and help you at least understand what's going on and how to push through it. They didn't even give you that.
It was more like, fun and games in there. I was mostly in front of a computer and playing Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember in my 5th grade years was always on that computer, looking Oregon Trail, playing Oregon Trail.
And we have some teachers that are like that, and that's not me, That's not my job.
When you talk about your students, I can tell that's not you, But
But you do have students that.
So I got my years.
I have some students that are hard to reach. I try and I try and I try, but at some point, I can't let 1 or 2 kids hold me back from teaching the rest of the class. So I try to keep everybody engaged and working, but I'll have kids that it's a first period class. I can't get up in time to come to school, Mr. Ezell. I'll try to keep. I'll literally give you work that you're missing and give you every opportunity to turn it in, but I can't make you turn it in. And if you don't turn it in, then I'm going to give you the grade that you get.
Bottom line, do your homework.
Yeah. Do the work that I ask you to do.
Well, not only that, but I'm talking about do your homework. And so you said you want to vote this year. Do your homework. Don't just listen to what you hear Wade and I say or the social media or whatever. Educate yourself. Be smart. Prepare. Do your homework.